I just want to address a little bit of the fallout from the Cornel West interview. FYI, I didn't want to have to do that interview. I really thought about canceling it. There's no upside for me to do that interview. There's no upside.
The upside is obvious. Jimmy is entertaining his right-wing audience who enjoy watching Jimmy talk down to Cornel West, fan the flames of climate change denial, and lie about COVID. Jimmy talks about meeting people where they are, and what he means by this is entertaining a right-wing audience by attacking the very same people as right-wing content creators. This is why he goes after Greta Thunberg, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and other leftists. Okay, I have to make a video on Jimmy Dore's dumpster fire and completely disingenuous interview with Cornel West. His quote-unquote interview with Cornel West was full-on cringe and reminds me of Brianna Joy Gray's bad faith interviews, which are little more than setups for sound bites meant to go viral. The audacity of a guy who just panders for a living to lecture Cornel West is beyond staggering. Cornel West is a real activist, with a verifiable portfolio full of activism. For those who aren't familiar with his history, Dr. Cornel West became involved in activism during his youth in the 1960s, participating in civil rights protests and demonstrations. He was heavily influenced by the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and worked to promote racial equality and justice. While pursuing his academic career in philosophy and religion, West continued to advocate for social justice issues. He held teaching positions at various universities, including Princeton, Harvard, and Yale, where he often integrated his activism into his scholarship. West has been an outspoken advocate for progressive political causes throughout his career. He has been involved in movements and campaigns related to issues such as economic inequality, healthcare reform, and LGBTQ+ rights. He was also a prominent supporter of Bernie Sanders' presidential campaigns in 2016 and 2020. During the 1980s, Dr. West was an active supporter of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, advocating for divestment from companies doing business with the apartheid regime and calling for sanctions against South Africa. Dr. West is a prolific author who has written numerous books on topics ranging from race and religion to democracy and justice. His writings have been influential in shaping discourse on social and political issues in the United States. West is known for his critique of neoliberalism and its impact on marginalized communities. He has argued that economic policies favoring the wealthy have exacerbated inequality and social injustice. In recent years, he's been a vocal supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement, highlighting issues related to police brutality, systemic racism, and the need for criminal justice reform. Dr. Cornel West's history of activism reflects his lifelong dedication to fighting for social justice, equality, and the rights of marginalized communities. His work as an academic, author, and public intellectual has had a significant impact on American discourse and activism. What does Jimmy Dore do? He sits behind a microphone and yells nonsense he knows he can't defend in debates. Occasionally he goes outside so he can yell into a microphone some more, and he's gotten rich doing this. Jimmy Dore lecturing Cornel West on politics is like some couch potato lecturing John Jones on fighting because his fighting style doesn't match what he sees on late-night kung fu movies. How any leftist can still take Jimmy Dore seriously at this point is beyond me. At this juncture, he's practically on par with Dave Rubin on the fake leftist spectrum. When Cornel West talks to right-wingers, it's to push leftist causes and defend them from right-wing arguments. When Jimmy Dore talks to right-wingers, it's so they can both badmouth progressives and Democrats, lie about COVID, or let them spout their anti-government talking points, which is essentially making the right-wing case against Medicare for all. In fact, this is why the right loves Jimmy. He repeats the whole, government is evil everywhere all the time narrative, just like Alex Jones. The difference is that Alex Jones takes this to the logical conclusion that we need less government, not more. This is the right-wing case against Medicare for all. This narrative that Jimmy pushes, along with his bad faith attack on the Democrats and progressives, while lying by omission, or sometimes outright lying for the GOP, is why Jimmy has developed a right-wing audience. Notice how cordial Jimmy Dore was to RFK Jr., and how he let him make the case as to why a public option, let alone single-payer healthcare, isn't doable right now. Jimmy Dore just rolled over and let him make his case.
You would guarantee healthcare for everybody in America?
Well, I don't think that you can do that all at once. And I don't think, and I can tell you this, that it's just at this point it's too much of a heavy lift. So you're never going to get there. So
What about a public option?
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking.
Well, no, I don't even know if you can get it to a public option at this point with this Congress.
Oh, okay.
My name is Freak.
Had AOC or Bernie Sanders said those things in an interview, Jimmy Dore would have made a response video calling these establishment talking points. By the way, I think RFK Jr. is right in this instance. Kind of like a broken clock. The math just isn't there for a public option. It isn't feasible right now. And I agree we'll need a public option before we get to single payer. And this is one of the many reasons that Force the Vote, which Jimmy Dore used as a wedge to split the online left, was a garbage idea. However, the point here is that Dore was cordial to RFK Jr. and let him steamroll the idea of pushing single payer. Compare that to his contentious and bad faith interviews with Marianne Williamson and Cornel West.
Utilitarian calculation. I can't say nothing because these people over here somehow are alienated. I'm telling the truth. I'm fighting for justice. And if people feel as if to talk about white supremacy is alienating, then they're going to be alienated. I'm talking about my mama. I'm talking about my daddy. This ain't no abstract dialogue about politics in the Machiavellian sense. Not at all,
so
my brother.
When Bernie caught
as crucial and as important as the issue of vaccines and the COVID situation was, when you say that's probably the most important issue in your lifetime or in the last 25 or 30 years, in light of all the wars, in light of what Palestinians are going through, in light of what workers are going through, 63% of them are living paycheck to paycheck, in terms of all the vicious attacks of the police and the murders and so forth. Yet this vaccine issue is the most important thing. I say, okay, that's my dear brother Jimmy. He's got a right to raise his voice. I'm not going to in any way push it away, but I just live in a different world. As important as vaccines have been, if I had another chance, I'd be leaning much more with the Black caucus. But when I think of the weightiest issues, vaccines does not come immediately to mind.
You care yet?
Well, no,
70,000 workers in one state were fired because of vaccine mandates. When are you going to care? Do they all have to be trans? When are you going to care about these workers? When are you going to care about? When are you going to care about this?
They have to be trans for me to care.
You don't care. You don't care. Why don't you care about this?
Why would you accuse me? Of course I care about it.
You're saying it's not important.
I didn't say it wasn't important. I said it was not the most fundamental issue in my lifetime the last 30 years.
Forced medical experiments? Forced medical experiments? The Tuskegee?
Where is the nuance?
Apparently pushing his lies about the Russian invasion, lies which he can't defend, which is why he ran away in the debate with Sitch.
One of the main piece of evidence that I see cited, that you cited, Dave, that Jimmy cited many months ago about this claim that the U.S. coup Ukraine was, as you said, the Victorian.
You're really going to debate this? You're going to debate whether fucking the United States couped Ukraine? You guys enjoy it. Take care, you guys. This has been fun.
Thanks for coming on, Jimmy.
Take care. Okay. And I really appreciate you saying I was funny. I think that no matter who it is, if they find me funny, I have a spot for them in my heart. But I'm not going to do this.
Objectively false. You don't care?
I'm not going to do this. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to go black is white, in is out. And if the point of it is this is an economic proxy,
you don't even know what I'm going to say about the Newland phone call.
No, what I'm just saying
is
that
about Newland.
None of this matter. What Kurt is saying is right. It was that it doesn't matter. What's your end point? That we should be helping and spending $100 billion in Ukraine or not? We're there for the same reason we did Libya, for the same reason we did Iraq, for the same reason we did Afghanistan and Yemen, and now we're doing Somalia and Ethiopia for the same reasons. That's the same reason we're there. And any discussion about it is just stupid.
Jimmy,
I appreciate you, and I thanks for having me.
I mean, Jimmy, before
true, because you and everyone else.
It's okay.
Everyone else brings this stuff up in your videos.
It's okay.
If it didn't matter, you wouldn't bring it up.
It's okay. It's okay. It's good talking. Honest to God, you guys, you could have it out with Dave. Dave, he's doing a great job, and there's no reason for me to get upset. Okay, so
that's fine. I understand you don't want to, be fact checked or talk about anything.
Hey, Sitch, no, Sitch.
Hey,
you're right.
Hey, you want to have? Should we talk about if water is wet? Yes, we could.
Jimmy.
All right, I'm gonna take care.
Wait, Jimmy. Before you go, thanks for coming on. Come back on the show again sometime. We'll discuss. Take care, man. Have a good Sunday.
Okay.
and lying about the efficacy of the COVID lockdowns are more important to Jimmy than defending Medicare for all. The whole thing looks like an audition for PragerU. It's like he took lessons from Brianna Joy Gray, and he's now conducting bad faith interviews that are nothing more than a setup for sound bites, meant to go viral. The difference is that Gray can get away with it because she's a black woman usually addressing a white man. Plus it sounds kind of natural since, unlike Jimmy, she rehearsed her talking points and doesn't have to read them on a paper. But in Jimmy's case, he's a rich white man talking down to a black professor who spent his life as an activist, and in response to Jimmy claiming there was no upside to doing this interview.
I just want to address a little bit of the fallout from the Cornel West interview. FYI, I didn't want to have to do that interview. I really thought about canceling it. There's no upside for me to do that interview. There's no upside.
The upside is obvious. Jimmy is entertaining his right-wing audience who enjoy watching Jimmy talk down to Cornel West, fan the flames of climate change denial, and lie about COVID. Jimmy talks about meeting people where they are, and what he means by this is entertaining a right-wing audience by attacking the very same people as right-wing content creators. This is why he goes after Greta Thunberg, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and other leftists.